Welcome, everybody, to our live. I am Dr. Jaime Vona, and this is my colleague, Dr. Anya Schultz. And we are here tonight to continue our discussion on the Kohberger case. So, we are, all right, let me see. I pulled up the link that you just sent me, and I'm going to go over and see if I can find his, oh, wait, here it goes.
Yeah, if you fast forward to like.
All right, so I'm going to go over and I'm going to put this up.
Okay.
Ooh, what was that? Oh, wait, hold on. Here we go. Is it Effect with Lyrics?
Yeah.
I think this is it.
Yep.
Is this it? All right, let's put this one. So before we start, remember, Bryan is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Everything we say tonight is based off of our experience, education, and opinion, and nothing is like fact-based. We're just giving our knowledge and tying psychology into it. So tonight we're going to start by talking about the lyrics of Kohberger's rap song. Do you want to say anything before we start?
Nope. Nope.
Getting started. I totally just skipped over everything and just put this up and didn't even All right, let's get right into it.
The only tracks Bryan was laying down. Here's a.
So real quick, this is Cluminati that Dr. Schultz found the song lyrics to. So Cluminati, please go over there and subscribe to her. And thank you, Cluminati, if you see this, for letting us use this for educational purposes.
A rap song he allegedly recorded years ago. He would have been 17. I've taken the time to write out the lyrics for you and slow it down. You're welcome.
I hope, I wonder if I could do this in mute. So she writes it down. I'm going to do it in mute so that we don't get copyrighted and kicked off of the stream. Because of the music, like the lyrics in the background. Can you guys all still hear me?
Yeah.
If you can, Anya, then.
Yeah, I can.
I think so. Does she put that?
Yeah,
yes,
right.
It's coming.
Yep.
So okay, good. I just muted the song. Okay, here we go. Always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. All right, so let's load that back. What did that say? Do you want to repeat?
Yeah, so he's apparently actually singing on the track.
Right. I'm afraid that if we play the music of the track, I'll get a copyright strike from YouTube. So that's why I muted the actual sound of it, because we're actually more interested in the words anyway. Let's be honest. So, okay. So always the same thing. So here, you want to say the first two lines for me, and then we'll go line by line. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Furious.
It says, always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. I guess when the time is right. That's his first stanza.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. I guess when the time is right. So let's talk about this. What do you think about this?
So I think the whole song itself is kind of strange, but I think the whole song, as we'll see as we go through, is an evolution of his thoughts, kind of. Apparently he's 17 years old when he wrote this and laid the track down. And so I think this goes back to how he felt depersonalized with all of the things, maybe his idea of constantly living in the same theme, always having the same problems, hoping that things will get better for him, even with the visual snow, all that kind of stuff. But he's kind of also saying we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, it's not my time. So I think it's almost pretty
I agree with
straightforward,
that.
this part.
Yes, I agree with that. And all I would add to that is that by saying, I guess when the time is right, makes us know that he knows that he's not in control of part of his destiny, if you will, or part of his, when things are going to get better for him, so in this part, I like the fact that, not like, that's probably the wrong word. I like the fact that he's telling us, so that isn't the wrong word. I like the fact that he's telling us in his own words what it is that he's feeling in this moment. So let's go to the next line or two. Okay, procrastinating my deranged to change would be a fight. Okay, what the hell did that say?
That's what it says. Procrastinating my deranged to change would be a fight.
Procrastinating, meaning that you're not doing it yet, like you're holding it off. My deranged, so maybe procrastinating his mental health.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm a pacifist, so in other words, like, is this the next line? To change would be a fight.
I think so I think the procrastinating my deranged to change would be a fight is the one phrase before we go on to the so I'm pacifist, because that kind of goes with
I
the
see it now.
afterwards. But I agree with you. I think
procrastinating my deranged to change.
Yeah, would be a fight.
And then this is the part I kept missing. Would be a fight. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think on this
one?
I
think he's realizing how hard his mental health issue is, how hard it is to change who he is, because I feel like he already has been fighting it. And so now he's at the point where I'm already at this negative place. I might as well just continue to procrastinate because I've already have fought before and I know it's going to continue to be a fight. So maybe he's getting tired, because we know if this is him at 17.
And when he's fought in the past.
Struggling.
Yeah, and when he's fought in the past so far. Exactly. So his fights so far in his life have not been very successful. Around 17 is when he starts but to change would be a fight right here. No, I was thinking about like at school being bullied, like stuff like that. So that's all I was thinking. But then I'm thinking here to change would be a fight. So it's like procrastinate. So just think about it, right? If we had a homework assignment to do, and you're procrastinating because it's going to be a battle for you to understand your statistics assignment type thing. So like, I get what he's saying here, but he's using it in the sense of his mental health and his depersonalization and visual snow. So, but we do know that eventually from his Tappa Talks and stuff, he does eventually go on to do that. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Envision. All right. So should we go to the next part?
Sure.
Let's see. I'm so pacifist. Like, I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. Get the hell out of here.
He says, so I'm pacifist. Like, I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. So to me, again, I think this is him trying to handle
the way I said it is different than how you said it.
So, yeah. So I think...
what do you think he means by I'm afraid to get a bloody fist?
He's telling us maybe two different things. One, that I'm trying to be a pacifist, right? And so maybe I'm just too afraid, and that's why I've taken this pacifist way, because at this time in his life, he kind of just sits by and says things without action all the time, explains things but doesn't give details. So, all of that kind of stuff. Or, he could be also talking about the fight that he's already having. The fact that I've never won this fight yet, so I might as well be a pacifist because I don't want to get to that point of a bloody fist, or in his mind, like doing something on the negative or criminal, so maybe this is him already trying to fight the demons in some fashion because he doesn't want to be that way. If this is, if he allegedly did all that.
Gotcha. So what I see here is okay. So first of all, he says that he's a pacifist. So you guys, I haven't seen these. When this first happened 2 years ago, of course I like read it and seen the words back then. I know there's something about him saying like something about the devil or something at some point, but that I don't remember any of these words. So I do apologize that I'm going off of this as I'm doing it, but maybe that's better because you're getting my natural reaction. So over here, we said that he's 17, right? So he said, so I'm pacifist. So I think he's being, he says, I'm afraid. Like, I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. So to me, do you think he's being sarcastic?
I think he's being metaphorical in a sense. I don't know if it's sarcastic.
Gotcha. What do you guys think in the chat? What do you think he's doing here?
Yeah, I think this is him kind of, when you read the rest of when we get to the rest of it, you'll see the evolution of thought. So just by knowing what it says on the end, I think this is him saying, I tried to be calm. I've tried to be pacifist in nature. I've tried to really change, but the fight is just kind of getting a hold of me. And
Gotcha.
that might make sense when we start to see the rest
I was going to say, since I haven't really like saw this, I'm just going to let it play out once so that we could read it out loud. And I slowed it down a little bit, and then we'll go back to this part. And because maybe if I know the ending and stuff, if I remember that, I'll be able to give a better analysis. And it's only like a minute long. So let's see. So always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. I guess when the time is right. Procrastinating my derange. To change would be a fight. So I'm pacifist. Like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. Look at this. My mind is pissed. And I keep running. Why is this? When I hit, it always leaves them something. Ooh, Gentle Giant. Oh, okay. No deviance. All built. Wait, hold on. What did it say? I missed that. What was the word I didn't get?
Sunning. So I'm not 100%
slow it down
sure
a
what
tiny
that
bit more.
means. But
Okay.
it goes
If
with,
anybody in
why
the
is
chat
this
knows,
when
let us
I
know.
hit? It always leaves them sunning. I don't know what that means. SONNING is how she interpreted it. And it does sound like that when I listen to it. So I'm not 100% sure what that's the only word I'm not sure about in the whole thing.
Gentle Giant, no defiance. All built in alliance. And still think that I am present. I stuck in the future. But I'm never looking at the fucking present. Ooh, this says a lot. Keep it up. And act like you're all that. Here's a cookie too. And a present. Ooh, look at him being a little smartass. Led from the desert eagle. Deagles. What is Deagles? Growing louder than my motherfucking beagle. Oh, his dog. End your life. You get no sequel. Ooh. There's a ending life. Leave your loved ones crying. Some like seagulls.
Like some seagulls.
Oh, like seagulls, like whaling. You are not, I got you. You are not my equal. You are evil. I am devil. That's it, right? Oh, no. And now I'm going to regal. Now I'm going regal.
There's 2 more lines.
Ooh, was that it?
Nope, 2 more lines.
Don't fuck with this. Don't fuck with us. Gotcha. Don't fuck with us. I hope you learn your lesson.
And I believe that was the last line.
Wow. XR music. Oh, wow. Wow, you guys. All right. So now that I saw it, I still agree with everything we said so far, the pacifist.
Yep.
Wow, you guys. So tell me what that one word was or whatever.
So Desert Eagle
And
is
then
actually
I'll go forward.
a gun type. And so they call it a deagle when they're talking about a Desert Eagle. It's a type of gun.
Thank you for telling me that. Oh, that means that makes like so much sense. So at this point, okay, we already know that over here he doesn't feel like he is in control. I went back a little too far. Hold on. So I'm pacifist. So I'll stop it where we were before. Like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. The only thing I would add to this part is that, like you said, it's a progression. So I think if he's telling a story, he's talking about before. So I almost feel like, and this is just my opinion, but because I just read the whole thing, now what I think is happening is, as a 17-year-old, he wants to reinvent himself, in my opinion. This puts him at around that time where he loses all that weight and stuff. So I think this is him using music almost as therapy, if you will. And he's going through that beginning part so that he could be self-critical, so that when other people listen to this, right? Because he has an ego. So when other people listen to this, he's like telling the story as like, I was a pacifist. I was afraid to get a bloody fist. And now he's like transforming into this devil, as he says, right? So like you said in the very beginning, I do see this as him going from one thing to another, but I'm trying to thinking about it. Why would he do that at this time? And again, I think it's because I wonder what the exact date was that he put this out. But I think it's because what I just said, that he's trying to tell a story. Like, this is what you guys used to know me as, but now I'm not afraid anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. And I even feel more of that in the next couple of phrases as well.
Okay. So his mind's pissed. Tell me when to stop. And I keep running.
Yep.
Why is this? Wait, isn't it funny too? I stopped it real quick because he actually physically starts to take up running at some point. So he loses weight, but they're one of the people that were interviewed in the very beginning. All the news stations, how they go around, they look for anybody that's ever known you. So this one guy, how weird is this, right? This one guy says on the news, I like get the goosebumps even saying it, but he said that Bryan would call him to go for late night runs and that he would go with them because they both like to run, but they didn't want to go alone. So it was like going with a buddy, almost like a buddy system. Like, you want to go running. And here you're like out in like nowhere land. Like, you're taking this guy thinking that he's going to be your buddy system. And he could have like snapped at any moment with him. I think about that and I'm like, I mean, probably not, because he probably had a fantasy going, but just the point that he was capable of doing this, you see on the guy's face, he's like, I'm still in shock.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Do you have anything to add to that part?
Nope.
Well, you did in the beginning. Okay. I was going to say you started, I think. When I hit, it always leaves them. Wait, what was sonning? Do we know?
I don't know. I looked it up. There was
Does anybody
nothing
in the chat know what sonning
there.
is?
And so when I listened to it, thinking maybe she misinterpreted it, he does say that, or at least that's what it sounds like. So unless it's like a slang type word for something, I'm not 100% sure.
Gotcha. Does anybody hi Texas, does anybody in the chat know? Oh, there you go. Desert Eagle's a pistol brand. Thank you. And Regal. Oh, movie theater. Wait, it's so funny you say that, because at first I thought that, and then I thought, like, does he mean like Regal as far as like a character trait? What is it? Texas Ranger. We don't know. I think that's what we're trying to figure out. So again, do you mean like what exactly was it again? It was
word sonning.
Sonning. Sonning.
Even though I think he says it like sunning.
Oh, he says sunning.
Yeah, he says it like sunning.
When I hit
Like S-U-N or
Okay.
S-O-N, like a sun. So I don't know if it's a play on words, maybe to have rhymed with running.
Yeah, obviously, I was just going to say he obviously feels the need to rhyme this, so we have to take that into consideration too. That some of the words, like he obviously, I mean, in my opinion, I don't know how anybody else thinks, but I don't see him as like a lyrical genius. So I don't think that I don't know. I guess he was really trying to get his point across about something, and like you said, some of the words just kind of morphed probably just so that it would rhyme with the other
Yeah.
word. So I do agree with that. We're in agreement there. All right. So is this the next part, Gentle Giant? Did I stop the right part?
Yes. Yep.
All right. So Gentle Giant, no defiance. I have something to say about that.
Me too.
All built an alliance and still think that I am present. All right. So wait, and then he talks about the past. So let's go back to this real quick. Gentle Giant. Ged, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, so kind of going
Okay.
with like the procrastination part, the pacifist part, I'm wondering if this is truly how he saw himself for a while as this gentle giant. He was never defiant. He thought of himself as, even though he didn't get along with his parents, he still liked his parents from what we can, like they didn't do anything wrong. But he did feel a little annoyed, but he was doing what he was supposed to be doing, maybe to get recognized as someone who did things accordingly. And because he was such a big dude eventually,
Yeah.
I think this is him telling people, listen, I'm not as bad as you think I am. Just because I'm big doesn't mean that I'm like this crazy person. So I think he was almost trying to tell himself that he did all of these things in the eyes of culture and society and was trying to play that part. But then when we get to that part that you have there, all built an alliance, I'm thinking of his family at this part, where maybe they were trying to see him, they just didn't know how to do it correctly. So even though they were building an alliance, trying to help him, he just couldn't be there on that level with them.
Gotcha. So what I got here, and again, I love this that we don't talk about this stuff first, because I think one of the big lessons in this is for you guys to learn that depending on what it is that you've gone through in your own life and your experiences, and is going to depend on how you interpret something, right? So we could all listen to this rap song right now, and it could mean something different to all of us. So for example, I might not have been able to properly analyze the deagle part, like with because I didn't know what that was. I probably would have looked it up, but I didn't know that like it was like a term that could be used for it. So I like that we're doing this together. So let me tell you what I get from this. So Gentle Giant, okay, no defiance, and all built an alliance. So this is what I get from this. He eventually goes on to grad school where he does that survey, right? And in the survey, he tries to speak to not other, because at this point he wasn't a killer, but he tries to speak to other criminals. Actually, I don't think it was killer. Like, I think it was just criminals in general. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but he does that survey, right? So I think here, what he's saying is that because he is a big guy, right? I think he's over 6 foot. So, and he was thick big at first. So now and this is like not probably, but at 17, I believe he graduated at 18 or 19. It was either 18 or 19. So the year before, it was his junior year that he lost all that weight. So this might be him, like, how like when you lose, I don't know you personally, but anybody listening, like when you lose weight, if you've struggled with weight, you still have that mentality of being bigger. So Gentle Giant, because at one part he was big, and he's big up until this point. So I don't know if he lost weight at this point or not, or if he's in his weight loss process, because now that I think about it, he did graduate at 19. So 18 would have been. So I wonder when this was actually created. But I think what he's saying here is I was a gentle giant, because he said he was a pacifist before this. And he also said that he was afraid. So that all like shows weakness in my eyes, like as far as him feeling out of control. And then all built an alliance. This part I'm not so sure yet how I feel about it. I don't know if this is an alliance with like criminals in his head, because I believe in one of his Tappa Talks or something, he says something like, I feel like a criminal with no record. So I don't know if all built an alliance is like him and other criminals, or like you said, him and his family, or a small group of friends. Because at one point he says the word us, so I don't know who us is referring to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's how I took it.
Okay,
cool. Let's keep going. All right. And still think that I'm present. So he still thinks that he's present. His eyes are stuck in the future.
So I feel
Doesn't
the
he say
opposite.
something else?
I don't think he feels present. I think he's saying.
Does he talk about being present again, or no? Was that
no?
it?
He says, and still
That was
think
it.
that I am present. So this, I think, is whoever these alliances are. I think he's almost saying these people are trying to build this alliance, thinking that it's bringing me into the present. However, that's not what's happening. My eyes are always looking at the future to get either better or because then he goes on to say, I stuck in the future, but I'm never looking at the fucking present. So again, I think
I knew that there was something that he said about. Okay, so he talks about the past, present, and future here, right?
Yeah, and
so,
then back
and still
he
think
kind of puts it all together.
That I'm present. I stuck in the future. Oh, but he never goes back to the past. But I'm never looking at the fucking present. So it's the present, the future, the present.
And then, yes.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. So
does he bring up past, present, or future again after this?
No, he brings up a present, but not like present tense.
Gotcha. So he goes from, so you guys take notice that he doesn't talk about the past here. He just talks about the present and the future, right? So he says at first, he lets us know that his, like you said, I do agree with you there. And again, I still don't know who this allegiance is with, because you could be right about the family thing too, or it could have meant many things. So this could have represented so many things that I don't know that I feel comfortable myself even saying what it was at this point. So I don't think we really know.
When did he go in for treatment? How old was he?
That's a good question.
Because
Nina's here.
They claim he was 17 when this got done. So I think that's a tiny bit after him being inpatient, because I think that was around the age of 16. So the alliance could be the rehab. You keep trying to help me. You keep trying to build this alliance for me, but you're still stuck in the future thinking I'm there with you when I'm not. Like, that's how I'm taking this.
Yes. And yes, because in other words, yes. So the alliance still thinks that I'm present in, like that he's present in right there.
They think they're helping me, but they're not. Yeah.
Right. Because he's better than everybody else. So he has to be smarter than everybody else. And, I'm not part of this group. They're losers. They're, you know what I mean? So, and whatever, and not losers, meaning like drug addicts, like whoever's group is, he always seen himself as being bigger at this point. So, but even if you look at it in the eyes of using drugs, now that you said that, I do remember us when we read the Tappa Talk before, he talked about that something about how nobody can ever convince him ever to ever do it ever again. So like he makes it very clear at some point that he will never do drugs again. So the way that he says it is almost as if he was like ashamed of it, where a lot of times people that addicts, some of the best people out there, right? Like they can help so many people. They're smart, they're dependable, right? Because they have to do certain steps and they have to hold themselves accountable. So I think here, though, in my opinion, that he does not want to see himself as an addict or as a fat person. He gets those surgeries after to take away his extra skin. So like you said from the very beginning, this is like an evolution. And that was probably the best word that either one of us could give it, because that's exactly what this is. So he's trying to tell us now. So I feel like he already did the past. Now he's in the present right here. And then he talks about the future. Wow. So here we go. Eyes stuck in the future. So his eyes are stuck somewhere else, is what I take.
Looking forward.
But I'm never looking at the fucking present. So he's pretty much saying, like, you guys fucking stop. I'm not looking at the present. You guys want me to be in the present or whatever, this union or that he made or whatever he called them. But he's letting them know, like, that is not what I'm feeling. So I totally
Which would
agree
make
with that.
sense with addiction counseling, because I mean, as you know, when we're counseling addicts, we're always focused on the present because we don't want them to get ahead of themselves. And he's like, listen,
Oh my God, that's right.
I've done my point here. I'm handled it. And now I just need to move on. You know, and it could be because of some of the narcissism that's there, where he's like, you guys keep not wanting to, almost like you're holding me back by me standing in the present.
I totally not only agree with that, but I want to add something here from my notes that I have. So with a narcissist, right? So they often, when they feel like when they feel inadequate, unlovable, not able to love others or love themselves, if they feel stupid, if they've been humiliated in any way, I wrote, the only way to stop that is to silence it. And at first, before you have like a switch to where you're going like to what he may have allegedly done, you start out small. You don't just go usually to the big thing. So I think what happens here is that he has an inflated sense of self, and he now sees himself as a victim, or did see himself as a victim, as opposed to grandiose, which he says that he feels when he's 16, when he starts the Tappa Talk. I think, was he 16 or 15? I don't remember. But remember when he starts?
It was like 2012. So whatever.
Yeah, I think we figured it out to be like 15 or 16. Right. So, but he talks about delusions of grandiosity. We've already talked about that, right? So what's the fucking opposite of feeling grandiose, right? Being a victim. So I think to him, I think you're right about the narcissistic thing. I think now he does not want to feel victimized, in my opinion, okay? Because that would be the opposite of grande, large, or, you know, having that inflated sense of self. So by destroying your perceived threat, and again, the perceived threat does not mean, when I say destroying, I'm talking in this sense about like relationships or not going to AA meetings or things like that is what I'm talking about at this point. But this is what I wrote. I can't believe you said that, because this literally goes exactly together. So they regain their control by trying to show everyone that you're wrong. I can do this. Like, fucking watch me. So he goes through the drugs. He gets clean. He goes through the eating thing. He gets better from that. He even goes and gets surgery, which means that doctors had to have, and if they didn't, then I would question where he went. But I would assume that because he was under 18 especially, and even if you're over 18, I think like with plastic surgery, doctors make sure that you're like mentally know that like that you're not going to gain weight again and type things before they will do that. So they had to be convinced of some sense that this extra skin was like the last thing that was making him feel. And think about it. If you're a guy and you're like 17, 18 years old, because again, it was junior year that he loses weight. So he would be almost around this age or starting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he didn't start losing weight yet. It could be right around now that he starts. But I can only imagine, I thought about it the other night, you guys, And I'm thinking, like, if I was a 17 or 18-year-old boy, and after losing a ton of weight, I've lost 130 pounds. I've seen how people's skin sags, and I did get very, very, very lucky. I mean, I have saggy skin, please, but it's not as bad as it could be. So who knows what his skin could have looked like to him? And at that point, as a male, your genitals are growing and stuff. So I could imagine that this would have been a hit to his ego, right? Because looking down, he's looking at extra skin as opposed to what he sees as perfection, which would be him getting rid of that skin. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, and hopefully that makes sense to other people too. But so by him going, and again, this just came out of nowhere to me, but I had the notes. But I mean, as far as putting it together, when you said that narcissistic thing, I was like, oh my God. But you guys, this is exactly what I think is happening right here. And again, so this is his way of saying, well, fucking watch, have a seat, watch me do this thing, watch me lose weight, watch me not be an addict. So again, if he was getting treatment at around 16, he's 17 now, maybe he's fed up. Like you said, maybe that alliance is his group therapy type thing, or his AA meetings or whatever he has to go to. So again, I know with a lot of that stuff, because we do counsel addicts, that sobriety is a daily thing. It's not something that happened 10 years ago. Like you have to work on it all the time. So wow, I think we're both on something with that. All right, so keep it up and act like you're all that. Okay, so now he's talking shit. So keep it up, act like you're all that.
Or is he talking to
Here's
himself?
a cookie too. Is he talking to himself?
I don't know. He might be, because again, I think a lot of this is him trying to convince himself he was one thing. And now we're making this. So is this like a defense mechanism? Keep it up and act like you're all that. So again, and I've said this before, his narcissism could have been for the longest time a defense mechanism against the bullies and not feeling like himself. And
well, that's what would start it, right? So it would go with your personality. Absolutely. I think here, the other interpretation or another interpretation of this, it could just be him like talking back to the bullies, like you know, act like you're all that, and like almost like watch me now, like, because doesn't he say at one point, you think you're evil, but I'm the devil? So again, I'm better than you. Have a fucking seat. So I think this is him saying, have a seat. And, you know, don't act like you're better and you're all that. That's how I interpreted it. But again, none of us really know what he was thinking. So this is all just speculation. Here's a cookie too, and a present. Oh, he uses the word present. I see what you meant.
Yeah.
I wonder if he just did that to rhyme.
I don't know. Or that's kind of why I thought it was more directed towards him. Because if he's telling himself, like, keep up the act, like, you're all that, you know, like, don't be a bitch. You want a cookie? Like, knock it off kind of mentality to him. Like, because I think he's so used to also putting himself down. So he even battles himself a lot of the times with his own personality of loving and hating himself. So that's kind of how I took it. But,
yes.
So the victim versus
and the victim versus the grandiose person. So either way, again, whether it's your interpretation, my interpretation, or somebody else's interpretation, that's the right one, you guys. The thing is that they're all symptoms of something larger. And that larger thing that we both agree upon and see is that narcissism. Do I finally have you on my side that he is a narcissistic motherfucker?
Yeah, I will definitely feel better once like he's convicted of something. I'll still
sure. I just meant
where if we ever get any other information from his adolescent years that's not from him.
So what if you guys, so I didn't even tell you this yet, Anya, but my friend, and I don't want to like put her name out there because that's just not cool. My friend was like, Jaime, I didn't know you talked about this case. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, my cousin's best friend, and I know her cousin. And she's like, her best friend went to school with him in DeSales the entire time. Like, talked to him everything. So, you guys, I think now that, and this just happened that I just talked to her about it like a couple of days ago. I couldn't wait to tell you, but then I just been so busy. I haven't had a chance. I was like, oh my God. I was like, please. I was like, you have to like get her to talk to me about this. Like, I have a couple questions. I was like, actually, I have 1,000 questions. I was like, but don't tell her that because then she's not going to want to talk to me. I was like, but tell her I have a couple questions. So let's see what happens with that. But she said, from what the girl says, is that all of these things that people are coming out and saying, that she literally like is like ditto. So she feels the same way everybody else does, that he felt like he was smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
He tried to talk to her a lot and didn't always. She said that sometimes she would like that he didn't always get like a cue. Like he would think,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? But I don't know the girl that well to know
Interesting.
how that exactly. But that makes me think though. But she said that he did always have to feel like he was the one that was like in control. If you're doing like a group project, he's like the lead type thing. Which I have to be honest, you guys, I was like that too. So that doesn't say anything about someone's personality, just so you know.
But it does go with narcissism.
It does go with narcissism. Right. So, and again, there goes another bigger point. Many people could have symptoms, but you have to have so many symptoms. You have to have, so there's so many different criteria. So just one symptom of something is not a disorder.
Yeah.
Because I said I did too. All right, my motherfucking beagle. So doesn't he talking about taking his life and
so
life?
Yeah. So the one part right before that. So it ends with like, here's the cookie too in the present, and then he goes in and says, "Led from a desert eagle, Deagle's growing louder than my motherfucking beagle." So,
so his
again, you know what? Again, I don't think he's referring to his actual dog or an actual dog. I think it just went with the rhyme. Because
wait, was that the name of what he called it? Was it a deagle? Oh, it is a deagle. Duh, you guys. Yeah. So don't listen to me. I'm glad you laughed at me because I'm like, wait.
Yeah, that's I guess like when people are talking about it, like if you're in, I don't own a desert eagle, but if apparently they call it a deagle. So that's just another name that people refer to it as. So now he's talking about a gun, but in a roundabout way. So I'm led. Oh
my God! Wait, I just thought of something. Again, I just thought of something. I don't want to forget it. And I have ADD. So wait, real quick, you guys. As I just like saw this, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Now that I am not making it a dog, and I'm thinking of it as the gun again. Here we go. Right here, growing louder than. You can't be louder than me. It's almost like now you're getting louder than my own self, right? Than my motherfucking beagle. And we can't have that. So nobody could be better than him. So, and just end your life. You get no sequel. Like, just be done. Because I hear it coming. Almost like it's starting to overpower is how I took that. And again, it said coming from the desert eagle or whatever. And that's how I interpreted that. So almost like you're getting louder than my own gun or my own head or whatever it is that he's, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
He's using as a symbol. That's the word I was looking for, a symbol.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Ooh, end your life, you get no sequel. Wow. Leave your loved ones crying. So he knows that his loved ones would be hurt. Some like seagulls. So you guys think of a seagull when you're down the shore and stuff. I said when you're down the shore, like as if everybody here even knows what the hell I'm talking about. So Anya, think of a seagull, right? Yeah. They like squawk, like they sound like they're like crying out. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like wailing. That's the word I'm looking for, like wailing. It's almost like you're wailing. So now he could say that I see that that if I did this, that it would leave his loved ones crying, some of them like seagulls.
I almost went like a different way with this part.
Go ahead, please.
Again,
this is why we do this.
I guess because I kept thinking of him at 17, I was interpreting it more personal. So again, I almost took it as, he was talking to himself like, dude, if you end your life, you don't get a second life. You don't get a second chance. And, but then he's saying to himself too, like, the leaving your loved ones thing, I took two different ways. So like, he could be just recognizing, like, if you leave your loved ones, they'll cry like some seagulls. However, being from New Jersey, going down the shore a lot, the most hated thing down the shore is a seagull. And it's
You're
the most,
right.
and they're constantly getting up in your business. And so it could be
They
him.
eat your sandwich. They literally, you guys, they come down. You could have your
Oh, God.
sandwich like this. Like you could
And they
like be
will
taking
rip
a
it from your
bite and they'll come in and rip it right from your mouth.
Yeah. So is it him almost making fun of his loved ones? Like, you don't even know me. All you do is squawk and hover over me all the time, but yet you'd be crying about this, like, so I kind of looked at it.
I think both things can be true. So I think, again, it's like, right. So both things can be true. So, and I think that's what I'm trying to say, kind of, is that like some of you will be crying, some will be wailing, but like you said, do you even know who the fuck I am?
Yeah.
Because I don't even think he does at this point. So wait, let's go to the chat real quick. So we have, who was this? Envision says, sonning means teasing or make fun of. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Personal disconnect from people. I just want to put some of these up here.
Yep.
Slang. Thank you, you guys.
Yeah.
I wonder if He Built Alliance could be girls that turned him down. Tammy, yes. Especially if right before that it said teasing or making fun of. If now that Envision told us that that's what it means, like making fun of, then absolutely he could be talking about the girls. Mm-hmm. See, you guys, I think this is great that we're all talking about this because it just shows how a song can have so many meanings to people. And we usually think of things that are most relatable to us. And I'm glad that we're all talking about it because we're all pulling things together. And just know that neither Anya or I ever think that we're smarter than anybody else, just to put that out there. We learn from you guys as much as you hopefully learn from us. So, hey, kiddo. Hey, Texas. All right, let's see. Oh, someone said BK is innocent, which is okay. That's okay. I'm actually watch out for my video because I'm going to put a video out soon that talks about, I wound up putting the other video idea away, you guys, because I did a live and pretty much did the whole thing that night. So I put something else together of like why some people think he's innocent and why others think that he's guilty and how like either way, we both, whether you're on one side, the other, down the middle, that everybody should be thinking critically and should be able to criticize or think about their own, how they're thinking. So you should be able to take on the perspective of somebody else and critically think and be able to change your opinion in light of new facts. So Lore, if I see other facts, and I respect you, I would hope that you respect my opinion too. I could always change my opinion. All right, so let's keep going. Yeah, right, Jodi Arias. Oh my God, that's a good one. Do you know that case?
The which one?
Jodi Arias.
I've read a little bit about it, but not fully.
Cause she like killed her boyfriend like 12 times over. Oh my God, that we should definitely do that one. He had very close female friend who died from drugs. And it really got to him. He tried to get her into rehab when he went, but she wouldn't go. Lori, you're right. She's right. She's right. So that was the one girl that was really nice to him. Remember we talked about that one night with Nina?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she's right. And he wanted her to go with him and she wouldn't go. And then she winds up passing away. So again, I love all of these interpretations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I agree with this, Truth. Hi, Truth. He was the prey and now he's the predator. I totally agree with that. So that's what you said from the very beginning. The first thing you said was when I said if you wanted to introduce it, you used the word, what did you say, an evolution? That was a great word for it. Let's see what Texas says. He's still charged for quadruple homicide. And I haven't seen anything that would help exonerate him except driving around and looking at stars. You guys, I don't know if anybody watches Gray Hughes Investigates, but he did an amazing job with the car and the timing and stuff. Like, if you guys haven't seen it, you should go look at it. Oh, look who's here. Warning Look who's here. The wonderful herself, the one that gave us that information. Hello, chat. Nina, I don't even have mods yet. I'm not that big. Someday. All right, let's see. Someday. She said hi to the mods. I don't have mods. All right, so let's see what else. Maybe the urge was building inside. Absolutely. Oh, you guys have Seagull down south too. That's right, because they fly down south for the winter. Duh. Straight. See, there you go, you guys. I'm not smarter. I might be more intelligent in a field, but that doesn't mean that I'm smarter in everything. And you guys will get to know that the more you know me. But at least I make us laugh. I'm like, what does he mean, his dog? You're like, no, Jamie, it's a gun. I'm like, no. All right, so let's see. So wait, I just want to make sure we're getting people in here. Sometimes the desire to take a life is stronger than the motive of betrayal, love, or greed. And then there's other people, justice for Kohberger. Again, I totally. Oh no, Texas. I'm from Philly, and unfortunately, I know that, and it's horrifying. Of course, Truth laughed at that. All right, so wait, let's get back. All the evidence can. Okay, see, this is where I'm not like it says, yup, all the evidence confirms his innocence. Justice for BK. Like, I don't think any, like, what evidence confirms innocence? I'm just, and again, I don't know. How would you respond to that? Or you just don't, I don't know.
I think there's evidence. Well, I think there's evidence that goes against him, but then I think there's not enough evidence necessarily maybe to bring a full conviction. It'll really depend on what they really have. I actually don't think we've been given most of the information that they're going to end up bringing up in trial.
I agree.
But but if all they have is the sheath, then that's a problem.
I agree that there's problems.
Well, yeah. I don't think there's evidence that fully confirms him because of his fingerprint at the scene when it shouldn't have been. But
gotcha.
I guess
let's we'll find out. Let's get back to this. But again, we can agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, you're not my equal. So now he's on top, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not my equal. You are evil. So he's letting them, but I'm the devil. Again, I'm fucking better than you. Like, if this isn't, and whether he did this or not, you guys, so the people in here that are saying he's innocent, this doesn't even have to do with the murder, right? This has nothing to do with the murder. No. This is literally about him at 17 years old and what it is he was going through. And I have diaries of my own from this age. And I too had some, crazy thoughts back then. Not crazy, but, thoughts, like a teenage thought type thing. So again, this has nothing to even do with about the crime necessarily. This we're talking about when he made at 17 years old when he made this rap song. So that's how I'm going to just ignore that from now on. But again, I think now we're starting to see a pattern, because before I was saying that your eagle or deagle is getting louder than mine, so I should just end it all and be done. So in that sense, it's like, I can't let you get bigger than me. So I'm the best there. And then over here, it's like, okay, I'll admit it. You are evil, but you know what? I'm the devil. So who's the devil? The leader of the evils. Wow. Do you want to add anything to that one?
Nope. I think this is his defining statement, because the end of this statement just talks about, and now I'm going regal. And I think that's just him solidifying for himself, like, listen, I've done all this fucking shit in the past. This is how I've felt in the past, but I know now I've done the work and I should be at the top. And I think this is him just announcing that for himself, for others.
Yes, it's like by putting it out there, it's like he can hold himself accountable too. Yeah. And now I'm going regal. Was that the last? Oh wait, there's like one or two more lines, right? All right, let's see what he says. Don't fuck with us. I wonder who us is.
I don't know, unless us is.
I hope you learn your lesson.
Unless this is secret.
Oh, unless us is like the good me and the bad me, the gentle giant and the devil.
Yep.
Because he says he has depersonalization, and isn't that the beginning of depersonalization or whatever?
Mhm.
Like he's saying he feels separate from
Yep.
himself. So in
Mhm.
that sense, so what do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that wait, my 17-year self also sings songs like that? Don't tell me if you were saying, oh, I just said right before that, I don't know if you just came in, but I just said, please, nobody go get my journal from when I was 17. Because so I did already say that, Leah. I'm sorry if this isn't your like thing, that's fine, but nobody's claiming to be a saint. But what were you gonna say, Anya? Maybe I should have mods, because mods usually just exit people out when they're mean. I don't like when people are not mean. Like it's one thing to say I think he's innocent. It's another thing to be like, oh, don't tell me if you were a saint. Nobody said that they're a saint. But anyway, here, you guys, I hope you learn
even in this
Yeah.
sense, whether you're a saint or not, he's troubled. That's what we're trying to put across, is that he comes across as
Yes.
troubled.
And so was I.
Yeah.
And guess what,
And many
Leah?
of us
Just so you know, right after this, he goes into Nina, tell me if I like Nina, how old was he when he goes into the eating disorders? If you're here. But again, do you know, wasn't it like around now? Yeah, it was, because
around
he
this
gets
age,
skinny
yeah.
between around junior year.
Mhm.
So Leah, just so that you know,
I think this was
not
might have been
only
like right before, like maybe he's making that decision to change his life, and this rap is saying, you know what, now I'm going to take a hold of my life, and then he goes on that journey,
because
because
eating disorders are
at
about control, right?
17, yeah, and with it all being control, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Leah, I was just what I was saying was, and again, we're just talking about his teenage self, and maybe we can turn this around. What I'm saying is, I don't know if you know this, but I also had an eating disorder like him, and we both went to the same eating disorder program, and we both had the same psychiatrist, me and Bryan Kohberger. So I absolutely can speak on this. And I was the exact same age. So I'm older than him. So I wasn't like, I went to the program way before he did, but I can say that I could speak on eating disorders, at least from experience and academically. So with that being said, an eating disorder, you guys, is a disorder of control. I don't know if you guys realize this, but he keeps like telling you, like, before I felt out of control. And the thing about the present was huge, right? About like, you guys want me to be in the present, and I'm making it seem like I'm in the present, but my eyes are on the future. And it's almost like him saying, like, I'm done with the present, I'm done with the past, I'm going with the future, which a lot of 17-year-olds might be saying. But we then know that he has more struggles after this. So again, we're just looking through his song as one of his pieces. But go ahead, Anya, what were you going to say?
No, I completely agree. We know that he was struggling way before this. And then this is, I think, at the end of that, like, he's just over himself at this point and is like, I need to man up. I'm going to take what I know because I know I'm better than everybody. I'm going to do what's necessary to make sure you also see that I'm on top. So if this is him at 17, we've had the struggle for what, the last 2-3 years. When he was around 14, you've been having this struggle, and now he keeps self therapying himself. I know that's not a word, but where he now believes he continuously gets better, right? And so
So pretty much what Truth just said sounds like his stronger self is trying to kill the weaker self.
correct, perfect,
I
perfectly
agree.
said.
That was
Yep.
A+ for you, Truth. And James, thank you so much for sharing that too, about the eating disorder. So, and again, you guys, it does take time to mentally come out of. And not only that, for some of us, we might always think like a fat kid type thing. So that happens too sometimes. And some of us move on from it. I'm lucky that I have moved on from it. It's been just as long that I haven't had it as when I did type. Like I've not had it longer than I had it at this point. So I do believe that I've moved on from it. But I do think James is right that for my remaining teenage and young adult years, even though I wound up getting treatment at 21 and I stopped, 21 is when I stopped. And it's ironic because now that I think about it, you guys, when I stopped at 21, it was a definite like thing. Like I was like, this is what you're doing and you will never do this again. And now that I think about it, that's exactly what he said about drugs. He was like, I'll never do this again. So I had that same, because it's like a perfectionist thing. It's like an all or nothing type feeling. And again, I don't want to feel out of control anymore. I just want to show you that I'm in control. And now I can't do it with my eating because you guys are, on to me. I'm at the eating disorder unit type thing. But again, it's something you battle for a long time. And I had to go into treatment like 4 times, maybe 5 before I really got help. So it's just like an addiction where somebody might have to go. If you're an addict out there, if you ever relapse, just know that relapse is a part of recovery, right? So just get back on the bike and try to keep going. Are you judging a preteen? Oh, all right, enough. I'm going to have to get whatever. That's just ridiculous. No, nobody's doing that. Nobody's judging a preteen. Obviously, you're not listening, Leah, because I and somebody else in the chat just shared about our eating disorders. And I told you that I went to the same eating disorder wing as BK, but I'm not even letting this person try to get to me because for all I know, it could just be somebody trying to get under my skin. So I'm not even going to look at chat, you guys. How about that? So I'm just going to look at this and not even look at chat because it's not worth it. So if I miss your comment, I apologize. You could thank people that are being disrespectful for that. But anyway, back to this. So I do think that it's important that we share this stuff because there are a lot of people out there that are struggling and somebody out there like James, who is brave enough to let us all know about the fact that he had an eating disorder before. Like I definitely appreciate that, right? Because that's hard for somebody to talk about. So what else do you have for
so
Bryan?
I have like a couple wrap up type things. And then I kind of linked it back to Freud a little bit because that's what we talked about last.
Yeah, please do.
So like as an overall thing, I thought maybe as a sum, he's kind of saying, listen, I've tried to be this gentle giant. But because of all of you, you kind of have left me no choice but to give into this darkness and this evil. And so now I'm just going to do it because it's easier to give in than to keep fighting. So, I think, that is the big statement he's trying to embark on here. Just letting you know, like, listen, I'm not going to take this anymore from all of you who are trying to make me into something that I'm not. And I'm going to give in and just be who I need to be. And this could have been a positive thing at this time. If
it got him to lose weight and get off drugs and stuff like that.
But right after all of that stuff, this is him taking back his life. However, the concerning part is the verbiage, and that's what we're looking at.
And I agree with you.
This is beyond someone's normal journaling or writing, of someone's troubles. Like this is way more.
And I'm glad that you said that because now that I think about it, we both have children and our children haven't written like this in their diaries. And if my daughters did, I would make sure that I'd be concerned too. However, I think that the reason I jumped on it right away is because I did have a trouble teenage years. So to me, I identified with it. So that's another reason why I'm glad that you're here because you're right. This is trouble, just like my journals are troubled. So anybody that read my journals, and I was in the eating disorders thing a few times. So I was troubled, but I did, thank God, get help. And now here I am. So anybody out there that's struggling, just know that not only can you beat it, but you could do whatever it is that in your, that you want to do someday, as long as you persevere and do the hard work to get there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And so this whole idea to me kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week with the struggle between the id ego and the super ego. I think it's one of those things like with the super ego, that was the gentle giant. Like they're trying to follow societal ideals. He's trying to follow societal morality. And he just now is internalizing all of this and not understanding it. And so when that starts to fail for us, it weakens our ego trying to safeguard our id, where the id, you're now giving into the evil because the ego just cannot maintain. Most of us know we end up with this ego depletion because we are constantly fighting our id if we're believing in that mentality. We're constantly
And
saying,
can you explain to people that don't know what that is?
so like, for
It's a
instance,
shame that I can't put
if
it.
I'm having a bad day, I can't just go around and being like, fuck you, I hate you. Like, my ego's like, Anya,
Why not? No, I'm kidding.
you know, that's inappropriate. You know, all it would do is get you in trouble. And so, you know, if I've worked on my ego or if I have certain personality traits, I can tell myself, okay, why don't you go to the gym and work out instead, or do this? And I think what happens is eventually people are just like, I can't mentally handle this anymore. And it's so much easier to go with the taboo thing because it just lets your brain do what it actually wants to do. Even though there will be consequences. So I think his ego, because he had put up a front for so long, whether it's been around the bullying thing, being heavy, the drugs, losing a friend, the eating disorder, all of those different things. He's like, listen, I just cannot add one more thing to my mentality. And now this is going to weaken how I express myself. And I think that's what we're seeing, this weakened expression that he was encountering with all of his negative history and all that kind of stuff. So I think like one quote that I found that I thought was really good, it was like, a mask of civility was the superego's attempt at control, but the id was just too strong to maintain it hidden.
Wow. That is a good quote. That's a good one. So the notes that I wrote down, because we did say that we were going to talk about ego depletion, and I was like, wait, I know that I did notes on this. So my notes, I have that ego depletion. First, I like try to explain it just in case somebody out there, because I don't want to assume that people know what it is. Ego depletion is like having a limited amount of self-control points each day. So every time you resist temptation, like you were saying, stay focused on homework or keep your cool during an argument, you spend some of those points. If you use them up too quickly, let's say, by making tons of tough decisions in a row, your self-control might run low and it becomes harder to stick to your goals or stay patient later on. And then I have key points that like I put down was self-control is a resource. So this is more like to remind people. So imagine you start the day with a certain amount of like mental energy. Like I always say, think of it as like a gas tank. Every time you choose to study instead of scroll through your TikTok, or doing something else that you like, taking a nap maybe, you use up some of this energy. What I was saying in my analogy was, think of it as like you're given a certain amount of coins, or you could be like a gas tank. So you only have so much gas. So I usually use gas tanks. Let's just use that. So you use up some of your gas tank. You don't want to deplete your gas tank, right? So while you feel burned out is another key thing. So if you spend a whole day making responsible choices, waking up early, you hit the gym, you attended all your classes, by the nighttime, you're like, look, I'm going to eat fast food as like a treat or whatever. This might feel really hard to do. So your energy tank for self-control is running low. So that was, what the heck, I'm just going to have a cheat day type thing. I also I only have a few of them more. I have 3 more, sorry. Breaks and recharges. So just as your phone battery drains over time, your self-control battery does too. So you can recharge by taking genuine breaks, sleeping well. I tell my students all the time, we just actually talked about this today because we're doing the brain. And I told them when we were talking about neurotransmitters to think about it as throughout the day, you use some of these gas tanks. And if you sleep right, you eat right, you take care of yourself, all of the things, then these things like fill back up naturally, right? So you're not depleting them. So over here, I put that you can recharge it by all the things I just said. And then I also put, I only have 2 more notes here. I hate that I don't always write to any. I looked up research. So Nina and I have been doing a lot of research, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that I have access as an educator to empirical articles that otherwise we might not have access to. So in doing that, Nina and I have been sharing research back and forth, and I've been reading a lot of it. So research, and again, the research is there, you guys, and Nina has it too. Research shows that believing in your ability to manage challenges can help reduce the feeling of depletion. If you think of willpower as something that isn't easily used up, you're more likely to push through when you're tired. Okay. And then, so again, so like saying to yourself that like giving up altogether is not an option, as opposed to having maybe somebody in your life that you've seen give up before. So that's just what you eventually wind up doing yourself. So you have to make sure that your mindset is in the right place, and that, you know, you have that mindset where, like when we both did our doctorates, it was literally, you guys, it's harder than being a parent almost. Like it's so hard. I might be being dramatic a little bit, but it is so hard, right? So, but the thing is that we pushed through, even though I'm sure you had the same times that I did where I was like, oh, I want to be done with this. Like I'm just going to quit. But I didn't, and neither did you. So that's the mindset matters. And then the last one I have is plan around ego depletion. We have to plan. And the only reason I wrote plan is because with like marriage therapy, we always talk about like planning things so that there's not, so that you don't have like that element of surprise. So knowing you might get depleted, try scheduling your most challenging tasks, like studying for your test in the morning or right after you've had some rest. This way you tackle them with a fuller tank of gas. So when you have fuller self-control. So the bottom line, ego depletion this wasn't a perfect formula that I gave you guys, but I did try to explain why we sometimes feel more tempted or less patient later in the day after making lots of decisions during the day. So recognizing the pattern can help you better take breaks and avoid burnout. So even something as little, don't you tell your students something like as little as, you know, if you feel like if you've been studying for 2 hours, take a break, go eat dinner, then come back to it. Or if you've been writing a paper and you've been stuck in the same paragraph for 3 hours, stop, go get a shower, and then come back to it. What are some tricks or tips that you could give people for if they're feeling so that they don't get depleted? So
I think the best
Same
thing
thing,
is
right?
actually when you talk about planning or scheduling is to plan activities that you actually like. All right. So even if it's only for like 10 or 15 minutes, like shut off whatever it is. And if you enjoy reading, find time to take care of you pleasurably, whether it is sewing, reading, building Legos, doesn't really matter. I think as Americans, I think one of our biggest problems is that we constantly are going, and we've always been taught, like, if you're not going, you're lazy, and that is not true. And we kind of have to let go of that mindset, because you should not be studying for 2 hours. You should not be sitting down and writing a papers for 2 hours straight. You should be doing things in very small intervals with these treats in between to keep you going. Now, you also have to know yourself and how much you can handle. I'm someone where if I stop, I may not go back to it that day unless it's something that has to get done. So you also have to have a truthful conversation with yourself and what you're capable of handling as well.
So you'll plan that out. So if you decided the night before, I think what you're saying is if you decided the night before that you wanted to watch that movie with your husband, and now today you're like, man, I wish I just did this work last night. Now I have to do it today. But the thing is that mindset I was talking about, your mindset is, this is my responsibility. This is my job type thing, or this is what I signed up for, whatever it is. And I'm going to follow through with it. I said I would, I need to, and you just do it type thing. So I totally agree with that. And I think it totally goes together.
Yeah. I think we all have what I call an addictive personality. We all have bits and pieces of an addictive personality. You just have to figure out what your addiction is and then work around that. So for me, like, I love to read. And when I say I love to read, like, it's 100 books a year. And so, but I also have to be real with myself where I say, you can't do this because this has to be done. And so having that list of what needs to get done, I also take things out of my head too. So like when I'm building the schedule, I'm old school, like put it on an actual calendar you have to write on, put it on a piece of paper, because it doesn't just hold you accountable, but now anybody can see it. And so,
I didn't think of it for that reason. You're right.
On the other hand, if you cross it off, you feel accomplished.
That is true, you guys.
So you have double the optimism aspect there.
Yeah, so there's like 2 times the reward for doing those things for yourself. So, and I think a big part of it is knowing that you could ask other people for help and think about it. How many people ask you for help in your life? And I'm not talking to Dr. Schultz, I'm talking to you out in the public. Like, how many people in your life call you daily and they need to talk about this, or their boyfriend broke up with them again for the 100th time and they want to tell you the same story again? But we do this for each other, right? So you have to know what your boundaries are and your limits. That's what I'm looking for. You have to know what your limits are. Don't let somebody else's stress deplete your gas tank. So maybe they're feeling depleted and now they're tapping out of your gas tank. And I know I've shared this before, but an eating disorder, again, is a disorder of control, and it's when you feel out of control. And a lot of times there's somebody else. So whether it be schoolmates, I think people need to understand when we say the words like abuse and stuff like that, people always think that we're talking about someone's parents abuse them or things. No, it could be verbal abuse from people at school, bullying, cyberbullying. That's all traumatic and would be considered abuse, right? So in that sense, I could see that he was from an early age by going on social media. I almost feel like, was this his cry for help and nobody really intervened?
Mhm.
Because this isn't the only thing the kid does. He did the Tappa Talk already for a year or so, and now he's doing this.
Yeah. No, I think
And
I
there's
think we're missing a big piece of his childhood that hasn't come out yet. Because I feel like all that we have read about him and the struggles that he has doesn't just come from bullying here or bullying there. Like, there has to be so much more that we just, or that not understanding the way his brain works. So I think if he ends up being convicted of this, then it would make sense, if nothing else happens, that he just had a sick mind from the beginning that maybe he did not have control over. Or if he ends up being innocent, or we find out more information along the way, maybe there are a lot of other reasons where he just continuously lost control because of his parents, of bullies, who knows,
so,
but I
and
don't
I
feel
would
like
say,
most people have his struggles without having struggles.
so no, you're right. But, and I would say this, you guys, too. So whether he did this crime or not, I do want to touch just from the psychological part. I don't want to be afraid to talk about narcissism and stuff like that because there are going to be people that hate. This is my channel. I'll talk about whatever I want. So I have narcissist notes. And again, whether we're talking about Bryan, your mother, your boyfriend, your best friend, anybody in your life that falls under this, I put there's a covert phase of narcissism. So this is when the narcissist is calm. So this is when it appears to everybody else as if they have things together. And then what did I put here? I put that there's an eruptive phase where they call it in the literature switching. And in the literature, they refer to it as narcissistic rage. I brought this up the other night in a live, so I won't go over it too much, but I just want to get Dr. Schultz's opinion on it. So narcissistic rage, this is what I want your opinion on, because this is just out of nowhere. And again, it's just one of my things that I have to ask because I like to think outside the box. When they say narcissistic rage, if you think about that, that's kind of like almost an oxymoron, because it's the narcissist is usually chill, they're in control, like they laugh at you and then tell other, or they let you get all crazy so that they could look at the other person and be like, see, I told you about her. But they're like picking at you so that you get that like out of control type thing. So this is the thing. So that would be like a covert narcissist. So my question to you is, instead of calling it narcissistic rage, wouldn't it be more like a borderline state?
So I think it depends on the context at that point. So for
Well,
me,
switching. So if we do switching, so this
yeah,
would
even
be,
if
so
you're
for people
doing
listening,
switching, I think what could be happening here is like we said before, like if they're constantly using going from the covert to more of a grandiosity type of mentality, right? Once we go to grandiosity, um, now I think rage is more likely to happen because your feelings could be interrupted more often than the covert. So I feel like the covert has their own rage, but it's kind of depersonalized, where it's hidden behind closed doors. It's not done to your face. People are not liking the covert narcissist because I think they're just nasty from the very beginning because they're hiding behind something, where the grandiosity type of narcissist, they're the trickier ones because people love them, right? We fall in love with the narcissist because they're fun and confident, but that confidence only gets them to a certain stage. And so
That's right.
I've dated narcissists. So if they say something and then
I've
I
lived
say
with one.
something back to them and now they're offended, now they've become violent. And so that when I think of narcissistic
So that
rage,
would be switching. So
right.
think about that
When
though,
I
right?
think
With
of narcissistic
borderline,
rage, that's what I'm thinking.
all right, so think about somebody in a borderline state, right? So with borderline personality disorder, they have an inability to control their emotion. Isn't that what's happening in a narcissistic switch?
Well, if
I feel
we're,
like they
I
could be
mean,
synonyms.
I think,
Not
well,
always. I don't
the
think
only
they stay in that
the only
state. I just
difference
mean
with
like
the
in that.
borderline. No, the only difference with the borderline, I
Yeah,
think,
tell
is
me.
the borderline jumps to abusing
Antisocial.
themselves, where the
Okay.
narcissist will jump to abuse others.
Others.
So for the borderline to me is normally like, oh, I thought we had everything great. It must be me. If you don't follow what I
Right.
need,
So
then I'm
I
gonna
agree
kill
with all that.
myself. Where
So
the
for
narcissist is
anybody,
like, no, I'm gonna kill you.
all right. Well, I know that we have a lot of students that are borderline. So, you guys, when I said like the narcissistic rage and the borderline thing, I'm not talking about necessarily like borderline personality disorder, but you know how they all fall under cluster B?
Yeah.
My thing is like, so they all have like certain things that are in common and then certain things that are different. And again,
They
this
all
is
need
just a thought,
attention
you
is
guys.
the one thing I always think of it's the attention
So,
factor.
and when I think of borderline, well, yes, and with borderline, it's for borderline, it's different in the sense that it's a fear of abandonment is usually at the core of that. So in this, I'm talking about somebody that would be narcissistic, so they wouldn't be a borderline, but I'm saying like, would their narcissistic rage look like a moment where they're not having control over their emotion?
In
And what would
that
make that?
definition, yes.
That's what I think I meant.
Yeah. With that
So
definition, I would
then,
agree with that. Yeah.
okay, so then I asked that because then you also have one that can turn into antisocial too, right? So this would be if somebody starts to get paranoid, and this is the thing, you guys. So I know people are like the judge or everybody says there's no connection. That's fine. You guys don't understand. Somebody, and again, maybe not him, whoever did this, could have had a relationship in their mind. People don't realize that. But a lot of people don't realize that, you guys. There could be somebody out there right now that has a relationship with you or somebody you love, and or the person you love has no idea about it. Right? That happens.
Yeah.
So my thing is, even though there might not be a connection that you could find that falls under the wording of evidence or in court, that doesn't mean that he didn't run across somebody at some point and then created fantasies about them. And then, whether he felt, and again, you guys remember the opposite of feeling grandiose is being victimized. So when he feels victimized, he needs to silence that sense of I'm a loser with doing something great. Like watch me not only graduate, but I'm going to graduate with honors. And I'm going to be he was the second person that one teacher has ever done a recommendation for. I'm like, dude, that teacher is so lucky. I literally did 14 recommendations in the past 3 weeks, and 12 of them are going to the same program. Mind blowing. I had to write a letter to the program and be like, look, like I literally, and I'm being honest for any student listening, I literally said, I'm never going to turn a student down. And watch, now I'm going to have 9 more. But I say I'm never going to turn a student down, right? Because I want them to always have higher goals. And I do think that if you're willing to do a master's program that somebody should give you a shot to do it. Like, what's the harm in it, right? So I'm going to always write the letter, but I did say to them, if there was only so many spots to like reach out to me and I could give them more information about each student so that they could then, they could ask me questions like, does this, does da-da-da do da-da? And that way they can get a general sense of who would fit their culture at whatever school it is. But I'm like, this is crazy. But that one teacher only did 2 in her whole career, and his was one of them. So that does say a lot. He was smart. Could he have charmed her? I don't know. Could he have just been smart and asked for her recommendation? I don't know. This is another thing. A narcissist, you guys, will put the work in. So if they want a recommendation from you, they'll start charming you from the beginning of the semester, knowing that.
Well, they're manipulative, so they're going to do what they need to do to get what they want.
Yes. And this is the thing. If you live with a narcissist or you're dating a narcissist, they have you living in their narcissistic fantasy, right? So when you break up with them, or when you put that border up and you're like, yo, cuz I'm done with this, I ain't doing this no more, they'll do everything in their power. And they might even let you be for a little bit, but they come back. They always show back up. And they come back, with all the stuff you love, and you're like, oh, I always say to students, when your heart and your head say 2 different things, go with your head. Your heart's dumb as shit. So your heart's like, boom, 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 boom. He changed. And your brain's like, nah, bitch. He does this all the time. And your heart's like, go back with him. And your brain's like, nah, bitch. He's going to do this again. And then the person gets back with them. It happens again. So eventually, let's say you did, because you got married to somebody else. So you put the brakes on. I'm curious, did the narcissist then escalate? Right? They escalate because now they feel fear.
So like if I over 4 years we dated, and we broke up a lot, but he always came back sweeter, begging, saying he was going to be different. And then finally, when it really ended, he actually was the one who put the final nail in the coffin and walked away but then he replaced me with someone who looked exactly like me.
Oh my God. I was trying not to talk because my ADHD shit's it's starting to wear out, but I'm like, just shut up. And I'm like, did he replace you with another look like another?
And it's funny because we were still close because we ran with the same circle. And when I started dating my husband, and then I got engaged, one of the first things he said to me, he ended up at the same party I was at, and he's like, I don't like him. I was like, you don't even know him. So after we had broken up, I actually became undateable at that time because he refused to let anybody else date me, even though he was dating people. So until I was out of that circle of people, I wasn't able to distance myself. But I even 15 years ago, we went to a funeral and he would not look at me the entire time. And he would talk shit behind my back at the funeral. I'm like, we haven't even seen each other in over a decade. And yet here you are still trying to control whatever it is that you can control at that moment.
And what I thought of was when you said about him, being the one that broke it off or whatever, I'm thinking wait, hold on. And then he replaces you, but they usually don't just let you go like that. So my thing is by being in the same friend group, he still was able to have eyes on you.
Very much so.
He was able to move on, but he still knew what you were doing. He knew who you were dating, And
I wasn't
when you said you can't date him.
Was afraid of him. So
okay, so that, you guys, that's such a narcissistic thing to do. So he doesn't really have to worry because he knows that nobody's going to disrespect him in that way because, what he says, he's better than everybody else. He's the top of the food chain out of the group. So everybody needs to bow down to him type thing. So when you said, no, I'm dating this guy, and it probably wasn't until then when you left the friend group that his ego felt threatened and he felt like, he really lost you in that moment. And to a narcissist, you guys, that's when they start having revenge fantasies. And again, for some people that are healthy, they might be able to just move on. But the fact that you, like you said, 15 years later, it was almost like he still was holding a grudge.
Mm-hmm.
Grow up, So it showed that you bruised his ego, clearly.
When I was in college, we had not been dating for about 4 or 5 years. And he actually beat up an ex-boyfriend 4 years after we had broken up.
Because he needed to show you that, don't worry, Anya, you're safe with me. I'm always going to keep you safe. So as long as you're with me, I'll be your savior type thing. Right? So you guys, with that being said, I will tell you guys that if you are in an abusive relationship, obviously reach out to somebody, and try to make a plan. Because if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, it's not going to be as easy as just being like, all right, I think I'm going to leave, or like, all right, I think this isn't working out. Like, it doesn't work that way. You're living in a fantasy that they're having. And if they're not ready to give that fantasy up, how dare you try to do it for them? Like, now you make them feel out of control. And again, how do you do that? If you start to feel humiliated, gain control back so that you could be grand again. So with that being said, I didn't realize it was 9 o'clock already. I was like, oh, damn, it's 9 o'clock. We've been on here for an hour and a half. So you guys, I don't know what you think. You can leave it in the comments for next week. I think with the Bryan Kohberger thing, I don't know how much we can, keep doing, like, until there's more stuff that comes out, unless somebody else has like an idea. But if we don't, I was thinking of maybe trying a different case next week, if that's okay with you. So if anybody has either, should we do the Stephen Stearns one, since I already started that one and I have people here?
And it's
I'm
coming
going to
up.
send you stuff, and it's coming up. And they just went to have his trial or whatever, his
Arraignment.
Yes. But something got pushed back. So now we have a little bit of extra time, but wait till you see this story. Just real quick. It's about him dating this Jennifer Soto. And the thing is that, and I wonder, actually, I'm not going to tell you how I feel about it. How about that, you guys? Because I think it's pretty clear. And I don't know. This is going to be fun, because not fun. The whole case is not fun. I mean, fun in the sense of me and you. I want you to keep an eye on Jen Soto, the mom.
Okay.
Let me just be honest. So 90% of the internet wants to hang her like by the stake. They're like, she's, she was in on it. And then there's like the 10% or less like me that are like, no, you guys, she's an abused woman who has been groomed. And she was groomed because he chose her because he's another narcissistic motherfucker. So I'm going to send you some information on that. But again, I'm glad that I told you about that. So I want you to be open-minded about Jen, because I am curious to see where you stand on that, and to see, is it something that I'm not seeing, or is it really something psychological that you pick up on too?
Okay.
All right. All right, you guys. Thank you guys for joining us, and thank you for any students that stopped by. I really appreciate it. That was cool. Mwah. Good night. Good night, Anya. Thank you. I appreciate you. You're the best.
Bye.